You're tired, not just physically, mentally. You fought battles no one saw, made sacrifices no one thanked you for, and you're starting to ask, what's the point? This is where most people stop, but not you. Because the difference between winners and quitters isn't talent, it's focus under pressure. In this audiobook, you'll learn how to stay locked in when your mind screams to walk away. You'll learn how to push when comfort calls. You don't need motivation, you need discipline. Let's build it, one focused thought at a time. Chapter 1. The Breaking Point. Why most people quit too early. You've probably been there before. That moment when everything inside you screams, I'm done. The dream feels too far. The effort feels wasted. You're tired, discouraged, and ready to quit. That's the breaking point. And let me tell you, that's where most people walk away right before everything changes. Every dream has a breaking point. It's the invisible wall between who you are now and who you're trying to become. It's not the point of failure, it's the point of transformation. But here's the truth. Most people never make it past that wall. They surrender when it starts to hurt. They give up when they feel empty. They mistake fatigue for a sign to stop, when in reality, it's the signal to keep going. Pain isn't the signal to stop, it's proof you're growing. That's the key. Growth always hides behind pain. Strength always hides behind resistance, and clarity always hides behind confusion. You don't need to avoid discomfort, you need to outlast it. When your body says, I'm done, your mind still has more. When your mind says, I'm done, your spirit still has more. That's the difference between those who win and those who vanish halfway through their story. Winners don't escape pain. They respect it. They learn from it. They push through it. You have to understand this. Quitting doesn't remove the pain. It only replaces the pain of discipline with the pain of regret. And regret is heavier. Regret stays. Discipline passes. That's the trade most people don't calculate. They run from the short-term struggle and walk straight into long-term disappointment. So the next time you feel that wall rising, when your mind starts whispering, maybe this isn't meant for me, stop and recognize what's happening. You're not breaking down, you're breaking through. Fatigue is not a warning, it's confirmation that you're touching a level most people never reach. Let's be brutally honest. The world doesn't reward people who almost made it. It rewards those who stayed when it was no longer fun, when motivation died, when support disappeared, when the dream felt impossible. That's when the transformation begins. You don't need to be talented to outlast pain. You just need to be committed, consistent, unshakable. That's what most people never understand. Greatness doesn't require special gifts. It requires staying power. The power to say, I'm not done yet, when your body, your mind, and even your friends tell you to quit. The mind is a liar under fatigue. It tells you that you can't, that it's too late, that it's not worth it. But it's wrong. It's scared. The brain's job is to protect you, not to grow you. That's why discipline matters. Discipline doesn't care about comfort, it cares about completion. When you reach that breaking point, pause, but don't stop. Rest, but don't retreat. Reevaluate, but don't resign. Because everything you've worked for is often waiting just one step past exhaustion. Most people never see it because they turn back right before they strike gold. Here's what you need to remember. Every great story has a moment of collapse. The hero falls, the dream cracks, the plan fails. But then something happens, a shift. The person decides to rise again. That's where real strength begins. Not in the easy days, but in the decision to stand up one more time. You have a choice. You can stop and stay average, or you can push and step into mastery. You can let pain define you, or you can let it refine you. That's the key difference between the ones who talk about success and the ones who live it. If you truly want to become unshakable, start training yourself to see struggle differently. Stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start saying, "This is building me." Stop seeing resistance as punishment. It's preparation. Every hard day is shaping your character. Every failed attempt is teaching you something discipline can't. And here's the reality. No one is coming to rescue you at the breaking point. Not your friends, not your family, not your mentor. This part is yours alone. That's why it's powerful, because it forces you to become self-reliant, to build grit, to fight for yourself when no one claps for you. The next time you hit that wall, remind yourself, this is the test. This is where the average stop and the unstoppable rise. You don't need their permission to keep going. You don't need anyone's validation to continue. You just need to remember why you started and who you promised yourself you'd become. Pain is temporary, but quitting echoes forever. That's the truth. Feel it once, learn forever, never repeat. You can't avoid the breaking point. You can only learn to endure it. And when you do, it changes everything. Because the moment you realize pain isn't your enemy, it loses its power over you. You're stronger than your emotions. You're stronger than fatigue. You're stronger than doubt. The question isn't, can you do it? The question is, will you stay long enough to find out? The breaking point is the door to transformation. Most people walk away. You're gonna walk through it. Because you now understand that pain is the evidence of progress, fatigue is feedback, and persistence is the only path to mastery. You have a choice. Stop quitting on yourself right before you bloom. Your dream doesn't need another excuse. It needs endurance. That's the key. Endurance. You've faced your breaking point. You've learned that pain is proof, not punishment. Now the fight moves inward. The loudest enemy is inside your head. Your feelings posing as facts. Your mood masquerading as truth. Learn to separate what you feel from what is real. Chapter 2. The enemy within. Your feelings are not facts.
You still feel fear. You just move anyway. You still feel doubt. You still execute. You still feel tired. You still show up. That's power. That's control. People think emotional control means becoming cold or numb. Wrong. It means becoming focused. You feel everything, but you choose your response. You don't react to life. You respond with direction. Every emotion has one job: to test your commitment. If you rely on emotion, you'll never be consistent. If you rely on consistency, your emotions will eventually obey your standards. That's the transformation. Discipline first, emotion later. Here is what you must do daily. Step 1. Observe, don't absorb. When you feel anxious, tired, angry, or discouraged, don't identify with it. Say, "I'm feeling this, but it's not who I am." That one sentence builds separation. That's emotional freedom. Step 2. Anchor in logic. Ask, what did I commit to before this feeling arrived? Write it down. Stick to it. Logic is the rope that pulls you through emotional storms. Step 3. Move. Don't wait for the feeling to pass. Move while it's there. Motion kills emotion. That's why winners don't wait to be motivated. They move first, and motivation follows. You have to rewire your mind to stop worshiping emotion. Stop asking, "Do I feel like it?" Start declaring, "I'll do it because I said I would." That's self-respect. That's the discipline of emotional control. Here's a fact. You can't trust your emotions when you're tired, hungry, or under pressure. Your brain lies under fatigue. It whispers that you've had enough when you've only scratched the surface. That's when you must lean on your system, not your state. Create routines that protect you from emotional sabotage, morning structure, consistent workouts, mental checkpoints. Because when your habits are strong, your feelings can't derail you. You can feel bad and still move forward. You can feel off and still be excellent. That's the secret. Excellence doesn't depend on feeling good. It depends on showing up regardless. Repeat this until it becomes a core belief. I am not my feelings. I am my follow-through. You have a choice every day. You can obey your emotions and live unstable, or you can obey your standards and live unshakable. When you understand this, you become unstoppable. Because nobody can manipulate you when you no longer depend on how you feel to do what's right. Not stress, not critics, not failure. The enemy within will keep whispering. It won't stop. But now you know how to answer. You'll say, thanks for the signal, but I decide the action. And that's how you win. Over and over, quietly, consistently, powerfully. You don't need to feel ready. You need to stay disciplined. You don't need permission from emotion. You need direction from purpose. That's the key. You've learned to silence the lies within. Now it's time to clear the noise around you, because even a strong mind can drown in distraction. And if you don't eliminate the noise, it will eliminate your focus. Chapter 3. Kill the noise. Eliminate distractions before they eliminate you.
Let's get real. You're not losing focus because you're weak. You're losing focus because you're surrounded by noise. Every beep, every scroll, every notification, each one steals a piece of your attention. And attention is your most valuable currency. The truth is simple. You can't build anything meaningful in chaos. You can't grow in distraction. And you can't stay disciplined in an environment designed to break your concentration. You have a choice. You can keep reacting to every sound, or you can start commanding silence. That's the key. Most people don't even realize they're addicted to noise. They wake up and reach for their phone before they reach for their purpose. They scroll before they focus. They consume before they create. That's not productivity. That's digital slavery. Noise doesn't just come from your phone. It comes from people, the opinions, the gossip, the unnecessary conversations. It comes from comparison, the endless highlight reels that convince you you're behind. It comes from your mind, the self-doubt, the mental chatter, the fear of missing out. But here's the truth. All that noise, it's designed to keep you average. Because average people can't sit in silence. They crave distraction because silence exposes the truth about their lack of focus, their procrastination, their fear. That's why silence is the new success hack. Because silence forces clarity, and clarity kills confusion. You can't control the world's noise, but you can control your access to it. You can create what I call focus blocks. A focus block is sacred time. No notifications, no calls, no conversations. Just deep work, intense presence, one mission. You decide what gets your attention. You decide what doesn't. Start with 1 hour a day. Turn off the world. Lock in. Train your brain to stay where your hands are. Because that's where progress happens. Not in multitasking, not in chaos, but in deep, sustained focus. You want to know why most people never build momentum?
because they let distraction reset their focus every 5 minutes. They never enter flow. They never enter depth. They live in reaction mode, constantly pulled by what doesn't matter. If you want to win, you must become ruthless with your attention. You must treat it like a vault, guard it, protect it. Every time you check your phone while working, you're teaching your mind one thing. Distraction is allowed here. And once distraction becomes acceptable, excellence becomes impossible. It's not about deleting every app, it's about controlling your input. You can't outwork chaos if you feed it every hour. Here's the truth. Focus is not a talent, it's a trained environment. If you design your environment for focus, focus becomes automatic. So ask yourself, what's in your environment that feeds distraction? People, notifications, noise? Cut them, mute them, walk away from them. This isn't about isolation, it's about elevation. You're not cutting people off, you're cutting weakness out. Every successful person you admire has mastered this. They don't chase information, they chase execution. They don't react to every ping, they respond when it's time. That's why they grow while others scroll. Listen, the cost of distraction isn't small. It's your dream, it's your peace, it's your purpose. Distraction drains focus like a slow leak. You don't notice it until you're empty. And by then, the day is gone, the energy is gone, the drive is gone. You have to decide, will you keep leaking energy into noise, or will you channel it into progress? Here's the practical breakdown. Step 1. Identify your noise. Be honest. What steals your focus daily? Write it down. Social media? Drama? Overthinking? Once you name the noise, you can control it. Step 2. Schedule focus blocks. Every day, dedicate at least 1 solid hour where nothing interrupts you. Turn off notifications, put your phone in another room. Tell the world, I'm unavailable. That's not arrogance, that's focus. Step 3. Reward silence. After each focus block, step back and breathe. Notice the clarity, notice the peace. That silence isn't emptiness, it's power returning to you. Because every distraction avoided is energy preserved, and every moment of silence compounds into mastery. You don't need more hours in the day, you need fewer leaks. You don't need more motivation, you need less noise. Every time you say no to distraction, you say yes to direction. Every time you choose silence, you choose growth. That's the formula. It's not about doing more. It's about doing what matters, uninterrupted. Remember this, the world is loud for a reason, because silence produces strength, and strength creates leaders. And the world doesn't want too many of those. That's why most people stay stuck, because they can't sit alone long enough to face themselves. But you're not most people. You're building something that requires silence. You don't need to explain your distance. You don't need their permission to disconnect. You just need discipline to protect your focus. Silence will become your secret weapon, because when everyone else is talking, you'll be building. When they're distracted, you'll be advancing. When they're lost in noise, you'll be mastering clarity. Kill the noise before it kills your purpose. That's your job now. You have a choice. Stay distracted and drift, or cut the noise and rise. That's the key. You've built clarity through silence. Now it's time to turn that clarity into unstoppable consistency. Because focus means nothing without repetition. Discipline means nothing without routine. Chapter 4. The Discipline Loop. How consistency builds focus automatically.
Focus isn't a gift.
It's not luck. It's not something you feel. Focus is a system. It's a loop you create through discipline. And that loop, once built, removes 90% of the mental noise that keeps most people stuck. You don't lose focus because you're lazy. You lose focus because you live reactively. Every day, your brain wakes up with a limited supply of willpower. And if every decision, what to eat, when to work, whether to train, whether to scroll, is a fresh debate, you'll burn all your energy before the real battle begins. That's why the disciplined outperform the motivated. Because discipline isn't emotional, it's structural. It's a framework that traps your energy where it matters most. Structure beats motivation every single time. That's the law of the loop. The loop begins with one simple thing: repetition. Every consistent person you admire has mastered one skill: repetition. They don't reinvent their day. They execute it. Soldiers wake up at the same time. Writers sit at the same desk. Athletes run the same drills. It's not because they're robots. It's because repetition kills doubt. Doubt can't survive inside structure. When you repeat a behavior long enough, your brain rewires around it. Neuroscience calls it automaticity. The habit becomes so ingrained that you no longer negotiate with yourself. You just do. You wake up and your body knows what comes next. That's the discipline loop in action. Action, reward, reinforcement, less resistance, more action. Every time you follow through on your routine, the loop strengthens. Every time you skip it, the loop weakens. Simple, brutal, true. Decision fatigue, the enemy of focus. Most people are not tired, they're decision fatigued. They waste their sharpest hours deciding trivial things like, what should I start with? Should I do it now or later? Maybe I'll wait until I feel ready. Every question is a leak. Every hesitation drains your focus. That's why high performers live inside routines. They pre-decide the small things so they can attack the big ones. They eat the same breakfast. They start their day with the same ritual. They wear similar clothes, because every unnecessary decision is an energy tax. You don't rise to your level of motivation. You fall to the structure of your habits. That's why your focus fades, because you built no framework to protect it. Your system must make your success inevitable. You don't need inspiration, you need infrastructure. Stop waiting for inspiration to hit. You don't need to feel good to start. You need a system that doesn't care how you feel. Motivation is like caffeine, short, emotional, and unreliable. Structure is like gravity, steady, constant, and predictable. Think of it like a rail track. The train doesn't move faster because it's motivated. It moves because the track is fixed. Your routine is the track. Without it, you derail at the first distraction. That's why the military builds soldiers through structure, not speeches. Wake-up time, uniform, bed inspection, physical training. Each repeated act removes one more decision. Soon, discipline becomes identity, and identity doesn't ask for permission, it just executes. That's how focus becomes automatic. The science of the loop. The human brain loves predictability. It saves energy by automating what it understands. That's why routine is the secret weapon of peak performers. When your brain recognizes a pattern, wake, work, train, reflect, it locks into a rhythm. That rhythm produces dopamine in anticipation of completion. So instead of chasing pleasure, your brain starts chasing progress. That's the discipline loop. You act. You get a small win. The win feels good. Your brain wants to repeat it. Momentum is built, not found. You don't get into flow. You create the environment for flow to appear. How to build your own discipline loop. Step 1 is to identify your non-negotiables. 3 things that must happen every day, no matter how small. Maybe it's 30 minutes of deep work. Maybe it's reading 10 pages. Maybe it's a morning workout. These are your anchors, fixed points that structure your day. Step 2 is to attach them to existing habits. If you already make coffee every morning, that's your cue to start your first task. If you check your phone at lunch, use that time to review goals instead of scrolling. Step 3 is to track your repetitions, not your emotions. Don't measure how motivated you felt. Measure how consistent you were. That's the only metric that matters. And step 4, protect your loop at all costs. If you break it once, repair it fast. If you break it twice, restart immediately. Every repetition either strengthens your loop or sabotages it. There's no neutral day. The myth of balance. Some people sabotage their own loop by chasing balance. They want perfect work-life harmony, perfect rest, perfect mood, and end up with zero progress. Balance doesn't create focus. Boundaries do. There's a season to build, and there's a season to rest. But if you try to do both at once, you'll master neither. Focus is a season of sacrifice. You give up variety to gain mastery. You give up comfort to gain consistency. That's the trade. That's the price. The emotional trap. When you lack a system, your emotions run the show. You'll start when you feel like it. You'll quit when it gets hard. You'll chase highs and avoid discomfort. But the disciplined man acts even when he's uninspired, because he understands this truth: the emotion follows the motion. You don't wait to feel focused. You act your way into focus. That's the discipline loop doing its job. Every repetition sends a message, I am in control. And soon your feelings start to obey your actions. That's power. That's freedom. The loop never ends. Discipline is not a one-time act. It's a system that runs forever. You don't graduate from it. You refine it. Every season of life requires a new loop. The loop that got you disciplined in school might not work in business. The loop that worked when you were broke won't work when you succeed. But the principle never changes. Structure beats motivation every single time. Focus is never found. It's designed. And the person who designs their routine controls their destiny. You've built your foundation. You've learned how structure replaces motivation. You've learned that discipline isn't emotion, it's engineering. Now it's time to push deeper. You've built your loop. But what happens when that loop gets tested? When pain, failure, or rejection hits? That's the next level. That's where growth lives. Chapter 5. Turn pain into data. The science of using struggle as feedback.
Pain is not punishment. Pain is information. Every time you struggle, life is sending you a report card. The problem is, most people never read it. They quit too early. They take pain personally. They treat it like rejection instead of feedback. But if you learn to decode pain, it becomes your most reliable teacher. You'll stop asking, "Why me?" and start asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" That's the shift. That's maturity. That's mastery. Don't take pain personally. Take it strategically. Pain is feedback, not failure. Every system needs feedback to grow. Machines use sensors. Athletes use stats. Businesses use data. You have pain. Pain is your human feedback system. It tells you where you're weak. It exposes your blind spots. It shows you exactly what needs attention. If you ignore it, you repeat it. If you study it, you evolve. That's the rule. What you don't analyze, you re-experience. Most people run from pain, so they keep running in circles. Same job, same arguments, same mistakes. Because running protects your feelings, but destroys your growth. When something hurts, you have a choice: escape or examine. Escape is easy. Examine is powerful. Pain never lies. It tells the truth about your limits. Listen to it long enough, and you'll find the path forward. The emotional trap. The reason most people can't use pain is because they personalize it. They think, if I failed, it means I'm not good enough. Wrong. It means your method wasn't good enough. It's not about you. It's about your process. You can fix a process. You can't fix your identity if you keep tying it to outcomes. That's why you must detach emotionally from failure. Detach, but don't deny. Feel it, yes, but then dissect it. Ask better questions. What exactly went wrong? What did I miss? What variable can I control next time? This turns emotion into education. This turns chaos into clarity. Pain doesn't have to break you. It can brief you if you learn how to read it. Don't take pain personally. Take it strategically. Repeat that. Don't take pain personally. Take it strategically. When life hits, your first instinct will be defense. But strategy demands detachment. A fighter doesn't complain about getting punched. He studies the pattern. He asks, where did that shot come from? What did I miss in my defense? You must do the same. Pain is not your enemy, it's your analytics. It's data on what needs more discipline. You failed a business? Data says your consistency was weak, your research was shallow, or your timing was off. You keep losing focus? Data says your environment isn't designed for discipline. You're not growing? Data says you're repeating old comfort habits instead of building new skills. Pain always speaks, but it never shouts. You have to slow down long enough to hear what it's saying. That's the secret most people miss. Reflection amplifies growth. How to turn pain into data. Step 1. Capture it. When something hurts, write it down. Don't rely on memory. Emotion distorts it. Put the event, the feeling, and the facts on paper. Step 2. Label it. Ask, is this pain from growth or from ignorance? Growth pain means you're stretching. It's useful. Ignorance pain means you made a preventable mistake. It's fixable. Both have value, but you must know which is which. Step 3. Extract the lesson. What specifically did this moment expose? A weak mindset? Poor preparation? Lack of patience? Name it, because what you can name, you can manage. Step 4. Apply it. Feedback without action is just noise. Adjust your routine. Change your approach. Install the lesson into your structure immediately. That's how you build resilience, not by ignoring pain, but by integrating it. Pain as a mirror. Every painful experience mirrors your current level of discipline. If you always attract chaos, look at your boundaries. If you always feel behind, look at your time management. If people keep disrespecting you, look at your standards. Pain exposes where you've tolerated too much or expected too little. That's its purpose, to show you what's misaligned. You can lie to others, but pain will never lie to you. It reflects the gap between who you are and who you could be. And that's not cruel, that's mercy, because awareness precedes evolution. You can't fix what you won't face. Turning struggle into strength. Every setback carries two versions of you, the victim or the scientist. The victim says, "Why me?" The scientist says, "Let's analyze." The victim complains. The scientist collects data. The victim relives pain. The scientist rewires it. You get to choose which one you become. That's the key. You can stay emotional, or you can become analytical, but you can't be both at the same time. So when struggle comes, don't spiral, study. Don't drown in feelings, gather facts. The lesson is always there, but only the disciplined will find it. The pain ledger. Here's a practical tool, the pain ledger. Every time something fails, create a short report. What happened? Why did it happen? What can I control next time? What new standard will I apply? This turns your life into a living laboratory. You stop guessing. You start iterating. Most people fear repeating pain, but the truth is, repetition without reflection is the real prison. Repetition turns reflection into mastery. Your pain ledger becomes a record of evolution, evidence that you're improving, not just enduring. The shift from emotion to data. When you stop taking pain personally, your power multiplies. You no longer need validation to stay disciplined. You no longer crumble when things go wrong, because now you understand every struggle is a signal. Every failure is feedback. Every disappointment is direction. You don't need their permission to grow. You don't need sympathy to heal. You just need strategy. Pain isn't proof that you're cursed. It's proof that you're alive and engaged in the process of becoming unstoppable. And the ones who become unstoppable are those who study their scars. Pain plus discipline equals power. Pain without discipline destroys you. Pain with discipline transforms you. That's why this book isn't about comfort. It's about control. It's about building the kind of focus that no setback can break. Every loss is just data for your next victory. Every delay is a lesson in patience. Every rejection is training for resilience. It's not about perfection. It's about adaptation. That's how winners think. That's how soldiers train. That's how you rise. You've learned to stop taking pain personally. You've learned to extract lessons instead of excuses. Now you know the strongest people are simply the best data collectors. But there's one more trait they all share. They walk alone. They use solitude as a weapon, not a weakness. That's the next step in your evolution. Chapter 6. The Isolation Advantage. Why Winners Walk Alone.
There's a point in your journey where noise becomes poison. Too many voices, too many opinions, too many distractions disguised as support. If you want to win, you must learn this truth early. Isolation is not punishment, it's preparation. Most people fear being alone because silence forces them to face themselves. But that's where all transformation begins, in solitude. You have a choice. You can chase attention or you can chase alignment. You can drown in noise or you can grow in silence. Alone is not lonely, it's focused. The real reason isolation scares people. Isolation terrifies the average person because it strips away comfort. It removes validation. It removes applause. And suddenly, you're left with nothing but your thoughts and the truth. That's where most people break.
They can't handle the confrontation of their own reflection. They prefer the distraction of crowds to the discipline of clarity. But not you. You're not here to be average. You're here to rise. And to rise, you must separate. Not forever, but for a season. A sacred season, where you shut the world out and build the foundation the world will later see. People won't understand. They'll say you've changed. They'll say you're distant. They'll say you're cold. They're right. You've changed focus. You've distanced from mediocrity. You've become cold toward distraction. And that's the point. The power of deliberate solitude. There's a difference between being alone and being isolated on purpose. One is accidental, the other is strategic. Deliberate solitude is a weapon. It's when you carve out space, mental, emotional, and physical, to think, create, and realign. Every great builder, thinker, and creator in history mastered it. Jesus went to the mountain alone. Athletes train behind closed doors. Writers vanish for months. Soldiers focus in silence before battle. They all understand the same law. What you practice in private becomes visible in public. You don't become great around people. You become great away from people. The spotlight is for performance. The shadows are for preparation. That's the key. The detox effect. When you enter isolation, something powerful happens. Clarity. You start hearing your own thoughts again. You start feeling your instincts. You begin separating your real desires from other people's expectations. You realize how much of your energy was wasted explaining yourself to people who were never listening. You see how much time you spent trying to prove your worth instead of building it. Isolation is the detox from the addiction of attention. It purges false influences. It silences fake friends. It reveals what actually matters. And once you experience that level of clarity, you can't go back. Because now you see the difference between activity and progress. Alone is not lonely, it's focused. You've been conditioned to think that being alone means being abandoned. But alone is not lonely, it's focused. Loneliness is emotional. Focus is intentional. Loneliness says, I need someone to validate me. Focus says, I'm building something that will validate itself. When you're truly focused, silence feels like strength. You stop fearing quiet rooms. You start craving them. Because silence is where you can hear your purpose speak. Noise is where it gets drowned out. Stop filling every gap with the screen, a chat, a scroll. Learn to sit with your own thoughts until your thoughts sharpen you. That's the isolation advantage. Clarity without competition. Isolation builds identity. When you walk alone, you start discovering who you actually are, not who people told you to be. You find your rhythm, your values, your boundaries. In isolation, you learn what drains you and what drives you. You learn to think for yourself again. You rebuild confidence, not from compliments, but from competence. When you can be alone without falling apart, you become unstoppable. Because now you don't depend on the world to feel whole. You carry your own stability. You stop chasing belonging and start creating purpose. And that's the shift most people never make. They stay surrounded but shallow. You, on the other hand, will be separated but solid. The quiet season is where growth happens. Every great life has a quiet season. The gym before the body, the study before the wisdom, the draft before the masterpiece. That quiet season is not punishment. It's a process. It's the unseen grind that builds visible greatness. And here's the truth. Most people won't see your quiet season. They'll only see your results and call you lucky. But luck is just preparation meeting visibility. The hours you spend alone will one day speak louder than the people who once ignored you. That's why you can't fear isolation. You must use it. Every hour you spend in silence is an investment in your future voice. Every day you spend away from distraction is sharpening your execution. How to practice strategic isolation. Number 1, design a quiet hour. 1 hour a day. No notifications, no noise, no input. only output. Think, write, plan, reflect. Make it sacred. Number 2, audit your circle. Write down the 5 people you spend the most time with. If they drain you more than they develop you, it's time for distance. Number 3, say no more often. Every unnecessary yes divides your focus. Protect your time like it's currency, because it is. Number 4, replace noise with intentional input. Read, learn, listen, but only from sources aligned with your direction. Don't feed your mind junk while expecting clarity. This is how you weaponize solitude, by structuring it. Isolation is not avoidance, it's alignment. What happens when you walk alone? You'll start losing people. That's normal. You'll be misunderstood. That's expected. But you'll also start gaining peace, and that's priceless. Isolation filters your environment. It separates what's real from what's convenient. And once you've walked alone long enough, you'll attract people who match your focus, not those who drain it. Remember this: when you elevate your standards, your circle will shrink. That's not rejection, that's refinement. The transition to strength. You've learned the power of silence. You've learned that solitude is a forge, not a prison. You've learned that alone is not lonely, it's focused. Now you're ready for the next level. Because the real test isn't isolation, it's how you perform when no one is watching. You must learn to grind without applause, to work without recognition, to execute without validation. That's where true strength is born, not from the crowd, but from conviction. You've embraced the quiet. Now, let's master the grind. Chapter 7. Grind without applause. Stop needing validation.
Chapter 7. Grind without applause. Stop needing validation. You want to know why most people never make it? Because they can't move unless someone's watching. They crave applause before they've even done the work. They need a crowd to clap before they take a single step. But the truth is harsh. The real grind happens in silence. It happens when no one cares. It happens when no one texts you, when no one believes in you, when no one even notices your effort. That's where you're forged. External validation is a drug, addictive but temporary. You take one hit of approval and suddenly you're chasing the next one. You stop building for purpose and start performing for praise. That's why attention seekers burn out faster than builders. You see, attention fades. Applause dies. The same people who cheer for you today will forget your name tomorrow. If your focus depends on them, your strength will collapse with their silence. But if your focus comes from within, if you can move without being noticed, then you've already won. Because you've detached from the noise, and that's where discipline is born. Listen, you don't need their permission. You just need your persistence. That's the key. You don't need the world to agree with you. You don't need your family to understand you. You don't even need your friends to clap for you. You need to decide that your mission is bigger than their approval. Let them doubt you. Let them ignore you. Let them scroll past your progress. Keep grinding anyway. Every day you show up without applause, you're building something unshakable. You're teaching your mind that validation is optional, but consistency is not. That's power. You know what weakens people? They attach their worth to reactions. They measure success by likes, views, or compliments. That's not growth, that's dependence. When your self-belief rises and falls with public opinion, you've already surrendered your power. You've handed your confidence to strangers who don't even care. But when you build in silence, you build strength that no one can take. You become dangerous in the best way, focused, grounded, unstoppable. Let's be real. Validation feels good. Everyone loves recognition. But if you live for it, you'll die without it. If you need to be seen before you can move, you'll never last in the dark seasons. And trust me, the dark seasons are where greatness is born. When you're grinding quietly, doubting yourself, fighting fatigue, that's where the future version of you is being shaped. No audience, no applause, just you and your mission. Every day you get up and push without being noticed, you're proving something vital. You're not doing this for them. You're doing this for you. You're building habits that last longer than hype. You're creating discipline that outlives attention. You're building a foundation that can't be broken by silence. Because silence is not your enemy, it's your training ground. That's where you learn patience. That's where you learn resilience. That's where you learn that persistence beats popularity. Let's talk about focus for a second. Focus doesn't survive in noise. Focus thrives in quiet. When you cut off distractions, when you stop caring about being noticed, you give yourself the mental clarity to actually produce results. That's why some people keep talking and never execute, because they're too busy broadcasting what they plan to do instead of actually doing it. But builders? Builders move in silence. They let results speak louder than announcements. Stop posting your every move for validation. Stop looking for claps for every little step. The world doesn't owe you praise for starting. They'll only notice when you finish. So build in private. Work when they're sleeping. Study when they're scrolling. Prepare when they're partying. And when your time comes, when your work finally speaks, it won't need an introduction. Your results will make the noise for you. You see, validation feels like fuel, but it's actually poison when you depend on it. It creates fake confidence, a fragile ego that breaks the moment silence hits. But when you build self-validation, when you clap for yourself in private, you build real power. You stop needing attention because you already have approval from the only person who matters, you. And that's the goal. To reach a point where you don't chase validation, you radiate confidence. Because you've proven to yourself that you can move without being seen. That's what separates winners from watchers. Winners move regardless of audience size. Watchers wait for applause before they act. So let them talk, let them doubt, let them ignore. Because while they're distracted, you're developing. While they're seeking attention, you're gaining mastery. While they're chasing noise, you're building legacy. The grind doesn't need to be seen to be real, and your value doesn't need to be validated to be true. You don't need their permission, just your persistence. Say that to yourself every day. That's your mantra now. When you wake up, repeat it. I don't need their permission. I just need my persistence. When you feel invisible, say it again. When you're tempted to quit because no one's noticing, remind yourself, applause doesn't build empires, discipline does. So keep going. Keep working in silence. Keep building your foundation brick by brick. Because one day, the same people who ignored you will ask how you did it. And you'll smile, because you did it without needing them. You did it because you chose consistency over clapping. You chose the grind over validation. That's real strength. That's an unshakable focus. And that's what this entire journey has been about. Becoming someone who no longer needs to be seen to stay committed. Because when you stop needing applause, you start owning your purpose. And when you own your purpose, nothing can stop you. You've learned to silence the noise. You've learned to grind quietly. Now it's time to become the kind of person who never quits no matter what. Chapter 8. Unbreakable Focus. Becoming the person who never quits.
You've come too far to stop now. Too much pain, too many lessons, too many silent nights where you kept going when everyone else quit. This chapter is not about starting anymore. It's about staying.
Because anyone can begin, but only the disciplined finish. Unbreakable focus isn't built in one day. It's built in every moment you refuse to break. Every time you silence the noise. Every time you show up when you don't feel like it. Every time you keep your word to yourself when no one's watching. That's the key. That's what separates the strong from the almost strong. 1. Focus is a fight, and you're winning it. Let's be honest. Distraction is everywhere. Everyone's competing for your attention. Apps, people, problems, even your own thoughts. The world doesn't reward focus anymore. It rewards noise. But you've chosen the harder path, the path of silence, purpose, and discipline. You've learned not to chase validation. You've learned not to depend on motivation. You've learned to rely on consistency, the quiet engine of success. That's rare. That's powerful. Because focus is not about shutting out the world. It's about mastering yourself in spite of it. And that's where most people fail. They're easily shaken. One setback and they collapse. One bad day and they lose momentum. But you've already crossed that line. You've learned that emotion is not the driver, discipline is. You've learned that even when you're tired, you can still move forward. Even when you're afraid, you can still take action. That's mental toughness. That's an unbreakable focus. 2. Calm is power. People think focus means grinding 24/7, burning out, staying anxious, staying on edge. But the truth is deeper. Focus thrives in calm. When your mind is scattered, you make weak decisions. When you're frantic, you lose control. When you're calm, you see clearly. You think strategically. You act precisely. That's why the strongest warriors move silently. Their calmness is their weapon. You don't need to rush. You don't need to panic. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. When you're calm, you become dangerous because you're in control. Calmness isn't weakness. It's a command. So breathe. Slow your thoughts. Trust your process. You're not behind. You're building. Step by step, brick by brick. That's how you become unstoppable. Not by running faster, but by staying centered while the world spins around you. 3. The power of self-trust. Here's the truth most people never realize. If you don't trust yourself, you'll never stay consistent. Because every time you break a promise to yourself, you weaken your foundation. And every time you keep one, even a small one, you reinforce your belief that you can be trusted. That's why unbreakable focus starts with small victories. Wake up when you said you would. Do the task you said you'd finish. Keep the commitment even when no one's watching. That's self-respect in motion. That's confidence in progress. You can't fake focus. You either live it or lose it. And the way you live it is by doing what you said you'd do long after the mood has faded. Remember, emotions are temporary, but trust, real self-trust, is eternal. So stop doubting yourself. You survived too much to question your ability now. You've already proven you can endure pain, silence, and doubt. You've already proven you can build without applause. Now prove to yourself that you can finish. 4. Systems over feelings. This is where many people stumble. They depend on feelings to stay focused. But discipline doesn't care about feelings. It cares about systems. When you have a system, you don't need to ask, "Do I feel like it today?" You just do it because it's built into who you are. You wake up at the same time. You execute your routine. You show up to your work. You check your goals. And you repeat.
That's how you create consistency without emotion. That's how you build momentum that doesn't die when motivation fades. It's not about being perfect. It's about being predictable in your effort. You don't rise because of one huge action. You rise because of thousands of small, boring, consistent ones. That's how you win. Not through bursts of energy, but through endurance. You have a choice: to build your systems or be controlled by your moods. Choose systems, always. 5. Purpose is the fuel. You'll only stay focused if you have a purpose that's bigger than your pain. If your why is weak, your effort will be too. But when your reason is strong, when it's rooted in something that matters, you can't be stopped. That's why focus starts with clarity. Why are you doing this? What's driving you when no one's watching? What are you fighting for? Answer that, and you'll never quit. Because purpose transforms suffering into meaning. It makes every sacrifice worth it. It turns obstacles into training. That's the secret the world doesn't tell you. The people who never quit aren't the most talented. They're the most anchored. They have a vision that refuses to die. 6. The final transformation. You've gone from distracted to disciplined, from doubting to determined, from seeking applause to grinding in silence. Now, you've become something more: unbreakable. That doesn't mean you don't feel pain. It means pain doesn't stop you. It doesn't mean you don't get tired. It means you move even when you are. Unbreakable focus isn't about perfection. It's about endurance. It's about holding the line when the world tells you to quit. You've come too far to stop now. That's your mantra. You've come too far to stop now. Say it again. You've fought through distraction. You've mastered silence. You've trained your mind to obey your mission. Now it's time to live it. Keep building. Keep showing up. Keep sharpening your mind and controlling your emotions. Because focus isn't something you achieve once. It's something you maintain daily. It's a decision, not a destination. And every time you choose focus over distraction, purpose over pleasure, consistency over comfort, you become stronger. That's what makes you unbreakable. This is your moment. You've just finished When You Feel Like Quitting: How to Stay Focused audiobook. But understand this: listening was the easy part. Now comes the real test: living it. Because the world is full of people who start strong, but only a few who finish stronger. You've learned what separates them. It's not luck. It's not talent. It's focus. The kind that doesn't flinch, the kind that doesn't fold, the kind that stays when everything else walks away. So when you wake up tomorrow, remember this: you don't need their permission. You don't need the applause. You just need to begin again, every single day. Stay disciplined. Stay grounded. Stay so consistent that even your doubt gives up trying to stop you. And if this message lit something inside you, don't keep it to yourself. Hit the like button, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and share this audiobook with someone who's ready to stop quitting and start building. Because the more we rise together, the more unstoppable we become. You've come too far to stop now. This is your season to stay focused until the world has no choice but to notice. Stay unbreakable.